So I had another thing I wanted to say kind of about the way people view religion and the way people view their relationship to God is by basically never giving credit or, the dark side of that responsibility to themselves, instead giving it to God. One small thing is that I mentioned in my breakdown and mentioning the grandma is that grandma said, like, she's known as being the best cook in the county. Yeah. And she says, like, oh, it's not me, it's the Lord guiding my hand. And it's a small thing of just how these people think of just like, no, we're completely useless and it's actually God doing anything. And I mean, you could call that humbling in the case of the grandma of just saying like, oh, it's not me, I don't want to take credit. But you can also, there's also a really dark side to that of the Reverend, played by Robert Pattinson, does, before even we realize that he has been coercing these teenage girls into having sex with him, he is a complete nasty person. Yeah, he is a horrible person. He, doesn't have any of the qualities that we want to see in a reverend. We he has a very flashy car and he likes to show off the fact that he has a lot of money. Which, is especially insulting considering that it takes place in a very poor community. Mm-hmm. And they kind of the town kind of sees him and says, well, we still have to respect him because, he's the Reverend and God wants him here and he's the voice of God. And that relationship can be extremely toxic.
Of course, look at the child sexual abuse scandal. It's just... and bringing up, it was in Boston during the spotlight, right, when they were uncovering all that. A lot of the young boys were like, yeah, I knew, like, I was in pain and I didn't want this happening, but he speaks for God, so I can't say anything against him. Well, that's why it's, first of all, like, any form of child abuse is like the darkest, most disgusting thing you could possibly do, because children look to us as like the people that are setting the rules.
Yes.
So like you're really just destroying someone's mind because they're looking to you. Children trust us that we're going to do the right thing because we know better. And then you even further that concept by evoking like the deity. Yes. It's just like the amount of guilt and shame is just horrible. And people that subjected victims to any form of sexual abuse, they're especially, I hate even to say it, towards children, for sure, whether there's a hell or not, I hope there is, just for those people so they can fucking eternally burn.
Right. And I mean, yeah, it's deep and it's dark. And so another thing I want to say was, when you're talking about like criticizing religion in 2020, like, yes, obviously that has been done several times before, but I feel like this movie kind of takes it a step further. While other movies have shown that, yes, just because someone is a religious and maybe like pious person does not mean they can't be a bad person. This movie kind of goes that extra step of saying this person is bad because they're religious.
I get that. I mean, that's a fair assessment. If you want to say no movie's gone this hard against religion, then fine. It's essentially, it's almost like a, but this was my problem with Midsommar to a degree, where it's just like, what is this new thing where like the violence just has to be almost comical? It's first of all, and again, another problem is like the CGI stuff, where it's like when they cut off the guy's dick, like, are we supposed to buy that?
That's the...
And then when the ants are falling on his head, am I supposed to buy that? Okay, I don't understand.
The CGI isn't great.
Yeah.
When it comes to like the hyper violence, I kind of agree with you with Midsummer, where there are a lot of extremely violent scenes in Midsummer that I was like, I could do it without all of these. I don't really think.
And by the way,
I don't think this movie goes that way, except for the scene where Carl and Sandy, when they, mutilate the guy's genitals.
Yeah.
That's really the only scene that I was like, we can do that without it, especially since there's a scene later on when Sebastian Stan is looking through the photographs and we see that they have kind of mutilated people, but it's in... This is how I view movies.
Sure.
The hyper violence is better if you kind of see it through a lens.
Yeah, okay.
So if a guy's cutting someone's dick off, that's horrible to watch and it's unsettling, but much more unsettling and much better in terms of story is like someone is looking at a negative photograph of a guy's being
what's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if do you remember the movie The Sixth Sense?
Yes.
Okay,
of course.
So that came out in like 98 or 9, I think. So I was like 9 or 10, and like our family probably, maybe, I don't know, you were probably too young, but I feel like our family watched that when I was little, and one scene that always like it actually like ruined my year.
I think I know what scene you're talking about.
Was the scene where they poison a mother like poisons the young girl. But to your point, you don't see it. You see it because someone's giving, and I'm butchering the thing, but like someone's given a VHS tape.
Yeah, I forget exactly what happens. I haven't seen Sixth Sense in a while. But no,
you see it through a lens.
It's through a lens,
it's like
and I feel like your imagination can come up with way worse stuff than what they can show on screen.
Exactly.
And I think
that's the whole Jaws thing.
Showing a negative photograph, especially since it is a negative and you don't really get a clear view of the picture,
right?
Like you can get a much more horrifying image in your head than if you're actually seeing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
But I don't really think that this movie is taken. That the violence takes away from the movie. Most of the violent scenes are someone getting shot in the head.
I don't know if it's just because of, I don't know if it's a coincidence of like films that we've done recently, but I feel like with new films, there's almost this like, this urge to like do more, like to go over the top. Like I feel like back in the day, it used to be what you're talking about, where it's more reserved, or more like, with horror movies, like let your mind
like with violence or just in general.
With violence and in general. Okay. Like, I don't know. Like, I could think of, like, The Five Bloods, for instance. Like, I feel like so many films that we've done recently, it's just, like, over the top. With
you have a point. I'm actually thinking of that. Like, films have kind of gotten gorier.
Right.
And I don't know. It might be just because of streaming, because you can see it more.
Yeah.
Maybe. The Five Bloods was also Netflix.
Yeah.